Hello there, this is Oscar the Super User, and today we're going to do a quick video on how to customize KDE Plasma. I am running NixOS with KDE Plasma 6.6, although the distribution is basically irrelevant. So this is KDE Plasma 6.6, this was released in February 2026, and the things that we're going to see today apply to that version, but not necessarily to future versions. So what we have here is the default KDE Plasma layout. So when we look at the KDE Plasma desktop, we do have a default panel here at the bottom. It has our application menu on the left, our open and pinned applications right here on the left as well. We got the system tray on the right, which has our ongoing processes in the background and different controls for the operating system. We also have our clock with the date, which is fantastic, and a button to peek at the desktop by moving all the windows out of the way. Now, you probably heard that KDE Plasma is legendary for its customization possibilities, and we're going to see how to do that right now. Now, for a lot of people, the default layout is just fine. For a lot of people, this is perfect, and you don't really need to adjust anything. But in my case, I have a ultra widescreen monitor. So the default layout is terrible for my use case because I have to twist my head all the way to the left to be able to see my applications and twist my head all to the right to actually see the clock or the processes. So in this video, you might not notice because I am recording at a lower resolution for YouTube, but in my real usage, this would be actually wider. So let's see some examples on how we can customize the interface and KDE Plasma. So any changes that we want to do to the panels, we have to right click anywhere on the desktop and we click on Enter Edit Mode. Now we're going to get this zoomed out overview of our desktop, and you can see that the panels are highlighted. We can click on the panel, and this menu should pop up where we can now customize what's on the panel and different options here on the right. So first off, you can actually switch the position. So if you click on this, you can actually move the panel to the top if you prefer. You can move it to the left, kind of like Ubuntu. You can move it to the right, of course, but let's leave it here down below. We can also change the alignment of the panel, left, center, or right. The thing is, we're not going to notice a difference right now, mainly because the panel occupies the whole width. Where we're going to see a difference is in the next option, which we have fill width. This would fill basically the horizontal or vertical space that the panel occupies. We can switch it to fit content, and it's going to shrink to only fit what we have on the panel, which is our icons and system tray. Since the alignment is to the left, you can see that now it's on the left. Obviously, this is really terrible for me, being on an ultra wide screen, so I want it to be center. So that way, the panel is always in my view, in the center. We can also toggle the visibility of this panel. Right now, it is always visible, which means that even if I come up with a, even if I come up here with a window, you can see that the window actually goes behind the panel. The panel never disappears. It's always there. But we can switch this around. Like, we can have auto hide, and you can see here by the little preview, it hides automatically, as you can see. We also have the option to dodge windows, which is basically it's always visible, but the moment that a window touches the panel, it disappears. And then we have windows go below, which is essentially when a window gets maximized, the panel is still front and center there. I generally tend to like dodge windows. So that means that when nothing is touching the panel is visible. But as soon as I need to maximize or I need more space, the panel gets out of the way. I can call the panel back if I use my mouse. So if I exit edit mode here to demonstrate, and I just put the window down here, you can see the panel disappears. But if I need to use the panel again, I can just use my mouse and it brings the panel back up again. Right, then we have the options for opacity. We can have adaptive opacity, which adapts to the colors and to the backgrounds. You have opaque, which essentially no translucency at all. And you have translucent, which means that now we can see a little bit of the background. And then we have the floating options. This indicates what do we want floating. So we can choose to have it disabled, and the panel, instead of floating, will now stick to the edge of the screen. We can have the applets only, which means when we click on an applet here on the taskbar, it's going to be floating in the air. So if I give you an example, and I click on the date, you can see that the calendar view is floating and it's not touching the panel. And if I choose panel and applets, it just means that the panel is also going to float and it's a tiny little bit separated from the edge. I can also customize how thick a panel can be with this panel height option, so I can make it bigger. And then we have the focus shortcut. You can assign a shortcut to actually put the panel in focus. So let's give you an example here. If I type Ctrl-Alt-L, now my focus is on this window here, right? And I can use my keyboard to navigate the selections and to do things. If I want to switch the focus to the panel, I can Ctrl-Alt-L, which is the shortcut that I used. And now I can manage the applets down here on the panel. So if you need that functionality for whatever reason, that's how you do it. Lastly, we can delete the panel. And we can clone the panel if we want to have a new panel with the same settings. Now, one thing that I want to do is here at width, I'm going to click on custom. And now we get this interface. This means that now I can select what width I want for the panel. I'm going to have something like this. And also, I'm going to allow the maximum width to come here just in case. So this is the minimum width and this is the maximum width. It just means that the panel will never go over the maximum width, and the minimum width is the width that it's always going to have, even if it doesn't have any items on it. So I like it like that. I'm going to press close because I don't want to tinker with this panel anymore. Now, some people like a macOS style layout, and they would really appreciate having a top panel. And you can do that quite easily if we go up here where it says Add Panel. And we can add an application menu bar. So if we click on that, we get this top panel by default. It's thin. It already has a widget on it called the global menu, which is very similar to Apple's options global menu here. And of course, just like the panel down here, we can also customize this. If you click on it, we get the same options as before. Normally for this top panel, I like to have it translucent. I like to have it not floating. I like to shrink it a little bit more, but we want to put the clock up here and also the system tray. We left it down here. We can move it though. So if we click on this panel, the bottom panel now, we can actually select the different widgets on the panel. And here's the system tray. If I click on it and drag it all the way to the top, and I just let go here in the top panel, voila, it's there. We can do the same with the clock. So we're going to click on the clock, and we drag it up here, and there it is. Now, of course, it doesn't look very good at the moment. We're going to fix that in a second. Also, if we want to imitate a dock with the bottom panel, all we have to do instead of custom width, we just click on fit content. And that way the panel has the same size of all the items down here. You can remove extra elements. So if you don't like this pager, you could just click on remove. If you don't like the peek at desktop thing, you can also remove it. The margin separator, you can also remove that. And there we go. We have a cool dock. Right, but as you can see, the top panel is a bit of a mess. Let's fix that. Let's enter edit mode. We're going to click on the top panel. And we're going to add some spacers. So one of the settings that we have here is add new. We want to add a new spacer. Panel spacers are essentially empty space that you can use to separate the items on a panel. So we want to have this large empty space, and to the right of it, we want to put our system tray. There we go. If you want the exact macOS look, you would also want to put your clock all the way to the right. But some people prefer the GNOME look, so let's add another spacer. And now we got a second spacer. We can put this in the middle after the global menu. And now we got this tiny bit in the middle where we can put our clock. There. So right now these spacers are in flexible mode, which means that they adapt to the amount of elements that we put here. But if for whatever reason you want to specify a specific size, you can toggle this off. And now you see it has shrunk, but now I am more in control of its width. I can assign a number and make it as wide as I want. But at the moment, I do like flexible size because it makes it easier. So if we quit out of everything, you can see that now we have a more or less macOS looking setup. But there is more. This is not the only thing you can do to customize KDE Plasma. Let's look into widgets. What are widgets? Well, they are extra functionality that you can add to KDE Plasma Desktop. Very similar to GNOME extensions, in a way. All we have to do is enter edit mode. And in this option up here, we can add or manage widgets. We're going to click on it. Now, KDE Plasma already comes with a default selection of widgets. You can explore these. Some of these are very nice. A lot of people like the analog clock, for example, and if you drag this onto the desktop, you have a clock, and you can drag it around where you want to keep it. You can resize it if you want to make it bigger or smaller. Yeah, you can do whatever you want. You can make it as ridiculous or as nice as you want. And if we quit the edit mode, you can see now that we have our analog clock and it's fixed there. The way that we can change it is obviously going back into edit mode, and we can delete it or resize it or move it. Now there's many options here, but if you want to see new widgets, all you have to do is press the Get New button and download new Plasma widgets. We are going to get this window, which shows us the community-made widgets. Now, a word of caution, as it says here, that they are user-created. They are not created by KDE or your distribution's team. So exercise some caution when downloading some of these widgets, since they could have malicious code. If you don't trust user-made content, then don't download any widgets. I don't have many, but the ones I have here are Andromeda Launcher, which I think is a beautiful application launcher that you can use. And I also have the Panel Colorizer, which allows me to customize the panel's look. If you want to download any of these widgets, you would have an install button right here. Since this one's already installed, I have the uninstall button. But yeah, take a look. There's many widgets and some of them are very, very nice. Also, something that I failed to mention before in the example, widgets not only go on the desktop, but they can go on panels as well. So one thing that you can do is, for example, if you like the Andromeda launcher, as I had before, I can grab this and pluck it in my top panel if I want to. And there it is. It's right there. And just so you know, if in case you delete the system tray or the clock, those are widgets as well. They're considered widgets. So if you come here and you can search for them, and you search for system tray, you can see it right here, and you can put it back onto the panel. Right, so we've seen widgets, we've seen panels. What else can we do with our KDE Plasma desktop? Well, we can change its style and colors. To do that, we are going to go to settings, which by default is already pinned to our taskbar. In the quick settings, we can already have shortcuts to different themes. We have the light theme, and if we apply that, it should change all our panels and windows to the light theme, and the dark theme, which changes everything back, and automatic, which switches to light theme during the day and to the dark theme at night. If I want to customize KDE Plasma's designs and style, I can go here to global theme, and this will take me to all the customization options available. Now, a global theme is a package of all these items here. A global theme comprises colors, application style, plasma style, window decorations, icons, cursors, system sounds, and splash screen. So you can download whole community global themes that change all these things in one go. But if you wanted to, you can customize them one by one as well. If you want to get more global themes, you can just go here to the right where it says Get New. And just like the widgets, these are user-created items. If you don't fully trust user-created content, then don't download global themes. But yes, there's many here that are trusted by the community, and you can kind of judge by the number of downloads that they have. Also, when you click on a theme or a piece of user-created content, you can actually visit the homepage. They normally have a link to the GitHub if you want to inspect the code, etc. Here you have some previews of the Sweet KDE theme. As you can see, it has icons, it has Windows decorations, and it has different styles to change your Plasma desktop. For Mac fans, well, you can see that there's already some Mac OS themes as well that you can download. It comes with the icon packs, it comes with the Plasma style, it comes with the transparency, everything applied. So just to give you that example, I'm actually going to download the macOS White Sur Dark by Vince. So all I have to do is click install. It can take a while. And it's installed. I can close here. And as you can see in our global theme selection, we can now choose the White Sur Dark. We click on it, and we're going to tell it that we want to apply the appearance settings. And if you want the same desktop and window layout as you saw in the preview pictures, you would also click this. And of course, it gives us a warning that it's going to override whatever we did to our current desktop. So keep that in mind. We're going to apply. And as you can see, it has changed the style of our desktop. It has even applied the icons already. So that's a very quick way of customizing your desktop, but sometimes you don't want to apply whole global themes. You want to mix and match, and you can do that with the options that we have here. You can choose accent colors for your desktop. And all these options have the possibility of getting new ones. You can change the application style and the Plasma style, and of course the window decorations. KDE Plasma just makes it very, very easy to change your whole desktop the way you want. So I really do like the macOS layout, but I dislike the macOS icons. I do not like them at all. Now, here's the beauty of it. I can leave all the other settings as they are and come here to icons and switch back to Breeze Dark if I wanted to. And as you can see, it switches back to KDE Plasma's default icons. Or I can just go to Get New, and install any other icon pack that I can find here. I really like the Cora icon pack, so I think I'm going to install this one. Now, when presented with an installation option, you normally want to download the latest version. In this case, the versions are all the same, so it's 2.01 for all of them. So the differences that it's giving here is the color of the folders. Default Cora comes with the blue folders, but if I want green, gray, or yellow, the options are here. I'm going to go with the blue folders, so I install the default Cora. Done. So now I can close here and click on Cora and apply. And now I have the Cora icons, which I prefer. I'll leave you to explore more of this menu if you want to, because we're going to move on to something else. We're going to move on to the background, the desktop wallpaper. What things can we do with that? Well, of course, like traditional desktops, you can change the background image to whatever you want. But a cool thing that we can do in KDE Plasma, if it's your preference, you can actually apply an animated or video wallpaper. To do this, we're going to right-click anywhere on the desktop and click on Desktop and Wallpaper. In this view, we have different options when it comes to the images. But if you want video wallpapers, we need to download a plugin. So if we go here to Get New Plugins, we should have the Smart Video Wallpaper plugin. It is the one by Luis Bocanegra. I already have it installed, so you would click here to install it, and once done, we can close here, and now here at Wallpaper Type, we can change it to Smart Video Wallpaper Reborn. And in this menu, we can add videos. Now, if you want to get animated wallpapers or video wallpapers, there are many on YouTube that you can download. If you don't know how to download YouTube videos, I very much recommend an application called Parabolic. You can find it on FlatHub, so if your distribution supports Flatpaks, you probably have it there. So with our video downloaded, all we have to do is pick a file. We find the video that we downloaded, and we press OK. And we got this animated wallpaper background. I know that for many people, animated wallpaper backgrounds can be distracting, and obviously this is personal preference. But since we're talking about customization and desktop aesthetics, it is a highly subjective and personal thing. I don't like video wallpapers, so I'm going to revert the changes. I always like this wallpaper from Europa Universalis 5, so I'll just leave it there. I would like to touch on animations, because we can also change that. We're going to go back into settings, and we can scroll here to animations. So this slider here will allow us to change the speed of animations. If we put it to slow and we apply, and now we minimize the window, you can see that how slow this is. It's funny. It's funny in a way. But yeah, that's the beauty of KDE Plasma, that you can customize all these things. And if you prefer instant animations, you can have that too, right? Also, desktop effects. If we scroll down to window management and then to desktop effects, there's certain things here that we can change as well. We can adjust the blur of windows and panels, and we can configure it here. So right now we have a very strong blur, and if we apply it down, you can see that the blur has changed in our panels. Other things that we can do, we can activate different effects like this fall apart effect. So when we close a window, such as this folder, it just breaks into a million pieces. I find it very cheesy, so I'm just going to turn it off. But it's just an example of things that you can do, right? If you like the desktop cube, you can activate it here. Now, what is the desktop cube? Well, it's a very cool effect. If you go into the configure, you can see that the default shortcut is meta key plus C. So if we click on meta plus C, it's going to tell us that we need at least 3 virtual desktops, of course. So we're going to press add a virtual desktop and another. And as you can see now, the cube, or in this case, the pyramid, has formed. If we want a cube, we would have to add a 4th desktop, right? But a lot of people actually like this, and you can zoom in and zoom out with your mouse wheel, and you can spin it around, and it's like, hey, I got different desktops with different windows on them. It's eye candy, essentially, but, you know, it's cool. A lot of people like it, so you can activate the cube right there if you want to. And finally, before I forget, just so you know, you can also customize text and fonts, of course. So depending on the fonts that you have installed on your system, you can actually apply them here. By default, we get Noto Sans, but you can add any other font that you have as the default to the system. So if I want to add Whiter Sans, which is the default font for GNOME, I've got it here. And all I have to do is click on it, press OK, I apply, and as you can see, the fonts for the whole system have changed. So one thing I want to tell you before we leave is that if you ever mess up with any of your changes and you'd like to start from scratch, all you have to do is go back into the settings, go into global theme, and choose one of the KDE Plasma's default global themes, such as Breeze Dark. You click on it, and we're going to change the appearance and also the desktop and window layout. That's in case you want to change the panels as well, and I'm going to do that. And we're back to the defaults. Fantastic. If you want to save your current global theme, you can do it here with Save Current Theme. So if you have a lot of customizations going on and you want to keep it for future use, you can just click here and make your own custom theme. Alright, these have been the basics of customizing your KDE Plasma desktop. There is much more to it, such as, applications such as Kvantum that add extra effects. But for the average user who wants to customize their Plasma experience, this is all you need. Right, I hope you have fun customizing your KDE Plasma desktop, but always remember that with great power comes great responsibility.